whatever you do in your life, you somehow imprint yourself in this world. You leave this print afterwards, after yourself in this world. And that's what is, if we speak about human soul, I think that's maybe the soul is basically what you give to the people.
The artist Pavlo Makov was born in St. Petersburg in 1958 and now lives and works in Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city. Widely exhibited at home and abroad, his work features in many museum collections. Living his life within large cities has been his main influence. A connection Pavlo also sees with the cities that have so enthralled him.
I would like to describe myself as an urban person. I was born in the big city. Yes, I'm an urban person, and I always was dedicated. And if you can see my art, it's more or less always whatever I try to do is it's either the big city or the garden. So it's two different varieties of two main surroundings which influences me. It's either the garden or the city, but mostly the big city. Mostly the big city.
Pavlo works mainly with intaglio, where the image is incised into a surface, say of copper or zinc, and this sunken area then holds the ink for making the print. The technique works admirably for expressing his fascination with the urban environment, especially of Kharkiv, as explored in his collection, Utopia Chronicles 1992 to 2005, and his current gardens and tablecloth cycles.
I'm working with the plate, I'm interested and I'm doing it, but the same thing, but I do understand from the very beginning that this is only one small piece, this is one small dot on on the big screen somehow. And that's if you take it can be compared to the language of the computers. It's like 1 0 1 0 1 0. They're one different, but only I'm working with the different ones and different zeros. And then I make the phrase, and then I make the story, and then I'm not mostly writing novels, let's say. So if you can use this metaphor, I'm making mostly short stories and novels.
Вот. И ни одна другая технология не позволяет так схватить время. И это для меня стало чуть ли не самым главным во форте, понимаете? Потому что там возможность сделать какие-то детали мне и до сих пор важна. Я люблю возиться с деталями. Но это такая, знаете, это такая саморефлексия. Это фактически такое средство, это почти что транквилизатор для меня. Я могу сидеть долго, ковырять, и там, когда ты делаешь доску под лампой, и ты как бы забываешь обо всем, ты живешь в этом маленьком мире, который освещается, который у тебя в увеличительном стекле. И это как бы просто, ну я еще раз повторяю, это своеобразный такой антидепрессант. А вот что касается того, что афорт может запечатлеть время, и что ты можешь сделать что-то. Потом мелом вы пользуетесь, когда набиваете? Зубным порошком? Не понял, а как вы набиваете? Как? Как сделать так, чтобы доска белая была, без мела? Как? Смотрите, тогда если вы этим не пользуетесь, я не знаю, вы вообще знаете, что этим пользуются? Да, знаете. Но вы им просто не пользуетесь, потому что на зубной порошок у вас денег нет уже, видос. Не? Смотрите, я набью, конечно, без зубного порошка, не вопрос. Как бы. It's the system where there is no beginning and no end somehow, you know, and you can always find something new. And even if you think that you found everything in the city, the next day there will be something new which you don't know what has happened, you know. So therefore, it's a huge system. It reminds me about our biological structure, which is also very complicated, about our drama of our life, which is also very... So the city is kind of a symbolical thing. It's like a labyrinth where everything happens, you know, where everything happens. Or unpredictable things can happen, or predictable things also can happen, you know. So it's a kind of structure which reminds me basically the structure of our life, from the birthday to the end, to the death, you know.
For Pavlo, art is not a monologue. His art explores his understanding of the world and art itself. This generates questions and answers that then feed back into his work. Printing too has a deeper meaning that connects to Pavlo's concept of art, for whatever any person does in their life is in effect them imprinting themselves onto the world. You leave this print, this record of yourself, on the world after you depart it.
I never know when the work is finished, you know, because you definitely know when it started, and you know the first steps, you know, but then the work can bring you to a certain different place from the very beginning, because you thought you will finish here, and by the end of the work, because when you do your work, it's also a dialogue between you and the work, between you and what you're doing now. And this dialogue is not that you always directing this dialogue. It's sometimes that the work directs you backwards or directs you to the right when you want to go to the left. For me, the real result of what I'm doing is what happens to you, basically to the audience, if it happens. So what happens to the people when they have seen my work, and what they felt, because then there is a mixture of the feelings that are provoked by my work and the feelings that they already had of their own. And then this mixture is unpredictable. I can't predict this mixture. You know, the only thing I can do that my work can provoke these feelings and provoke thoughts. This is the real result of what I'm doing. Then the process went on. Because if you can speak about art, this piece is only a media between me and you.
Я понял, что случилась какая-то глобальная перемена. Дело в том, что эта выставка анонсирует будущее. Она не говорит о том, что было в прошлом. Она анонсирует будущее. Я очень сильно хочу сделать такой очень большой город-алфавит. В данном случае здесь представлены две работы. Главные две работы вот там висят, они маленькие. Это две буквы О, Х или X в латинском алфавите. Соответственно, как бы я посчитал, я хочу сделать латинский и кириллицу, и латиницу. Это примерно 42 знака.
You know, I had my feelings incorporated while I was working. My feelings are there. Then you came closer to my work, you saw it, and suddenly you felt something that belongs to you already, not to me. But you thought about it because you saw the art. And from my point of view, yes, and we haven't been talking about that on the second time, that from my point of view, art is not the thing that can really change the world. Process of the road that makes sense of the process, you know, as any kind of road, you know, because we start when we are born and we have a certain point when we die, and this is our long road from one point to another. Child memories, unfortunately, it's a long story, and it's connected very much to my art. And I was born in the house of my grandmother in St. Petersburg. The house was demolished I think in 65 or 64. It was demolished because they were building the new region in St. Petersburg, in Leningrad at that time. So I lost the place of where I spent first 3 years of my life. And this is, in fact, it's very important. That's why the idea of the place is so important for me. That's why I want to, by my art, I want to explain myself why I'm living here, that this place is mine. It's because the real place which I had doesn't exist any longer.
У вас есть во что? Кулечки. Ну давайте, сколько я вам должен, скажите?
80.
Вкусная, сладкая.
Вкусно, только собрано.
Да я вижу, что она свежая. Спасибо вам большое. Спасибо большое.
I only want to add that that I don't feel that art or artistic world is kind of very special, something very special. It's just as important as anything else in the world, you know. Because some of my colleagues, they think that being an artist is something very special. From my point, no. It's just an ordinary part of life. An artist and the art is also part of life, necessary part of life. But I wouldn't be so much pathetic about the fact that art does something very special. Art does what it has to do. That's it.
The multilingual Pavlo sees his art as another type of language, a visual language, one he is fluent in. This language actually transcends the black and white imagery he works with to produce a form of communication that can be labyrinthine, with a definite beginning but with no end.
And I would like to see that the other thing that I really like in my life is languages, you know. And therefore, when I was 55, I started together with my wife, we started to learn Italian. You know, visual language is my language somehow. For me, it's not difficult, you know. It will be much more difficult for me to write something, because when I read some books, you know, for example, I'm very fascinated with the book Invisible Cities, Le città invisibili with Italo Calvino. It's a fantastic book.
Se ce n'è uno, è quello che è già qui, l'inferno che abitiamo tutti i giorni, che formiamo stando insieme. Due modi ci sono per non soffrirne. Il primo riesce facile a molti. Accettare l'inferno e diventarne parto.
I can sometimes, if we speak about my visual, sometimes I can use rude words in visual meaning, you know. But mostly it's simply sharp and tough, you know, but it's not polluted somehow. It's not dirty language somehow. Because I think that dirty language, it gives you a certain side of life story, but it gives you only one side.